Hey everybody, it is good to be with you again this week. Here we are after Christmas and looking forward to 2025 and the year that's around with us. I'm here with my workmate, my colleague, my friend, Megan Doring, who does a myriad of things here, almost all of them related to small children and making certain that she keeps us in tune with the needs of the small children who are here present in our lives together. And thanks to Megan, we are blessed with an abundance of small children. I mean, we've had this, thanks to so much of the work that you and Amy do, we have this little explosion of, actually not a little explosion.
Yeah.
Right, it's not very little. I mean, the people are little, but, but Megan is, one of the things that she does here is she has this really cool program called Catechesis of the Good Shepherd. And tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it's a Montessori-based religious curriculum that is not just Sunday school.
Right.
It is a program that really allows kids to engage in our worship services, but also have a deeper understanding of what we are actually doing here in this church. They get to see what it looks like when we set the altar for communion. They get to figure out, I can tell you, before I did my training, I had no idea the large robes they wear, whoever is doing communion, that's called the chasuble. So those are some things that they're learning. But also, at the end of the day, if you were to walk into the environment while we're having Sunday school, it is so quiet. And at first you might think, what are these kids even doing? But the big emphasis as we walk in the classroom for the first time or during the day is, remember, this is a space where we listen for God. And those kids, in some of the most surprising ways, really take that to heart. And they are so quietly listening for God as they're maybe doing the story of the Annunciation of Mary or things like that, where they're just really engaged. And it might look at first like they're playing, but if you were to sit down with a child doing that lesson, you would hear them saying the words that they remember from the story of the Annunciation of Mary to Mary. So it's just a really beautiful program that gets these kids into listening to God, but also really understanding at a really much deeper level than I ever imagined, specifically my own kids experiencing religion and experiencing God.
Well, I think one of the things about the program is some of us, we've had children, grandchildren, and you kind of understand that, right? Our children, right? I'm thinking of the Fisher-Price airplane.
Oh, yeah.
My grandson has had a Fisher-Price, right? So we're inviting them to imagine being in an airplane, right? Or even if you have, dare we say, G.I. Joes or Barbies, or right? All of that's about imagining yourself in this spot. And in some ways, we've just taken that same idea of how you play, and play for children isn't just about blowing off time. It's about imagining yourself in a role so frequently. And so what you've done is you've now helped them begin to imagine themselves in church, as part of a worshiping community, all of those kinds of things.
And if I could share a story, the great things that I love to see after church or after catechesis is talking with one of the students and being like, hey, did you see the paten and the chalice up on the altar? And did you notice, I don't want to just talk about my girls, but we had just done the Annunciation of Mary, the Sunday of candlelight. And then we also talked about that at candlelight. And I saw, particularly Caroline, but a lot of the kids, they all looked down at me and they were like, we know that story. And they all pay attention. They all turn their heads back to Pastor Erdis as he was reading that story. And I just don't know, without that anticipation and having to been able to move the pieces and to actually one time I passed the Mary around and the kids kissed the Mary. So it's just those things that they just are so much more personally related to all of the things in the parts of the church that I've just never seen in that such a way.
Right. One of my teachers, Philip Fodaker, wrote a book about how worship really is the school of the church. And Phil thought a lot that we had ruined a lot of things in worship. Like we make it about the preaching, we make it about the singing, and those things are important, but he always talked about how they were merely a component of the whole thing, right? They all were to integrate and work together. And so it helps when children are able to see that, right? All of a sudden, even when you're reading the lessons or singing hymns, all of a sudden they get this sense that it's this much more integrated sort of idea that we learn about the Annunciation story in church, right? That's where we talk about such things.
But then they also get to go home and they practice these things. I get text messages from their parents about how they're filling the chalice with, the blood of Jesus and all these things. And it's just like it's just cool to see how deeply affected they already are by this program. And we've only been doing it for 4 months.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
It is cool.
It's very cool. Yeah. Very cool. But you're one of the, not just to talk about this, but you have something for us.
Yes. So thankfully we were blessed with Pastor Otis's old church, St. Mark. They were able to give us a lot of things from their Catechesis program. But we are still in need of some things in our environment. Like we need the figures for the Last Supper with Jesus and things like that. And so part of the great thing about this program is the idea that as a church, we are also supposed to build the atrium as the room in which we do all of our catechesis work. And so as a community, as a church, we are supposed to build this space. So we are asking, when you see us next Sunday, there will be a sheepfold out in the gathering area with these cute little sheep.
One of our Anya Boyden made up these. She's got a herd of sheep in her office.
But they have a little QR code on the back, and this will give you the option of going to the website, and there is an option to purchase things, the exact thing that we are looking for. Or the other thing is, we don't necessarily need brand new things in the atrium. If you have something that looks really similar to one of the pictures that we have on the website, we would love that donation too. The biggest thing we just ask is that it's all like natural wood. We just ask that it's not painted or anything. The idea of a Montessori classroom or the atrium is that everything is very natural, so it doesn't take away from the actual work that they're doing. So it's not a distraction. But we would really love your support in coming to support the atrium. And again, I just, not only do we need things donated, but if there is a talent that you might have in being able to help us make some things, there's a couple of things on my list that we need to make for the kiddos. So that's also a benefit. Just let me know, especially if you work with wood. Yes. We definitely need something like that. But we just would really appreciate your help in continuing this amazing program that we've started here.
Yeah, it's really very cool. Yeah. And to watch the kids be involved, and then to see them on Sunday, you can tell who's been in the program. You can tell. I mean, for those of us who are leaders at worship, you can see it.
For sure.
It's right there.
Yeah. Cool.
Almost in a way that if we could do that for everybody, it would be a really cool thing.
Someday, wouldn't that be amazing? Someday, it would be an amazing thing. So thanks for your support. Make certain to take a look at our flock of sheep. And if you can participate in any way, that would be great. Take a moment if you see Megan on Sunday morning and she's not moving a flock of little children to a space, grab her and ask her a little bit about what's going on with that. And even if you're interested, some role that you may want to play in all of this. And to speak to that, if you ever are interested in coming to observe, we are totally open to that. I had one volunteer who came in and was just like blown away. And so it's fun to have people come in and check out the environment and really see what it looks like on a Sunday morning.
Yeah. So take a moment, come and join us, and it'll be great. And as we are here and we are at the very end of 2024, we look forward to being together with you in 2025. Have a great new year and see you soon.